It is 6:31, calling to order the Trophy Club Mud One Board of Directors. We have our regular monthly meeting. It is 6:31, and we have all 5 directors present. All right, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the board on any matter, whether or not it's posted on the agenda. The board is not permitted to take action on or to discuss any comments made to the board at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The board will hear comments on specific agenda items prior to the board addressing those items. You may speak up to 4 minutes or the time limit determined by the president or presiding officer. To speak during this item, you must complete the speaker form that includes the topic of your statement. Citizens should be limited to matters over which the board has authority. Are there any citizen comments?
No.
All right, hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Okay, all matters listed as consent agenda are considered to be routine by the board of directors and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of those items. If discussion is desired, then that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Item number 1, consider and take appropriate action to approve the consent agenda. A, September check register. B, September 16th, 2019 regular meeting minutes. C, tax collection report, fourth quarter fiscal year 2019. D, quarterly investment report, fourth quarter fiscal year 2019. And E, wholesale water customer advisory committee appointment form. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve consent agenda, A through E, as you just discussed.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda A through E. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Secretary Treasurer Flynn and a second by Director Chapman. All in favor indicate by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We have a anxious general manager here.
I just wanted to suggest for board consideration that items 3, 4, and 5 might well be suitable for discussion without our attorney present, but we may want to hold item number 2 until he returns.
Okay, does anyone have any issues with skipping 2 for now and doing 3, 4, and 5?
Nope.
There are no objections. Let's go to item number 3. Consider and take appropriate action to adopt order number 2019-1021 Bravo, declaring certain scrap metal to be surplus property and authorizing the disposition thereof. Staff?
So what this is, anytime we do water replacements, we have old valves, couplings, fire hydrants, anything like that are pulled out of the ground. We save them. We have a pile down there that's all getting kind of large now, so we would like to haul this material off. Also, any meters or anything, that we've pulled out of the ground and change, we'll break them down and put those in barrels and sell that stuff for scrap also. So that's what this is, just used parts that we would like to get rid of.
In a Halloween appropriate way, it's the boneyard.
Vice President Rose?
Move to approve order 2019-1021 Bravo.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Rose to approve order number 2019-1021 Bravo. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Castanway. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4, consider and take appropriate action regarding approval of acquisition of a 2020 Dodge Ram 2500 regular cab truck for the Water Department to be purchased through the buy board contract at Grapevine Dodge Chrysler Jeep for amount not to exceed $30,114 and authorize the general manager to execute the necessary documents to complete the vehicle purchase. Staff.
Okay, this is
For Mike.
Okay, this is also to replace a water truck. So we have a 2012 Ford that is a 4-door long box that was bought by a previous general manager that never really fit our needs for Trophy Club. pretty hard to turn around in the cul-de-sac, and these trucks are known for eating up tires on the front. It seems like we're putting tires on it pretty regularly. It is getting to the end of its lifespan for our vehicle replacement, so this will be replacing that vehicle.
Thank you.
I would add that it's so long, it's difficult to park it in our parking spaces without hanging into the fire lane.
So Mike, how was it decided to land on that particular truck?
Say that
The
again.
one we're buying? How was that one chosen?
It's just a regular cab short bed. It's just like the rest of our utility trucks that we run. It's just a standard utility truck. It's not a 4-door. It's not a long box.
It's not a Ford.
It's not Ford.
It's not a GM either,
We've had those in the past too.
just saying.
Just say, vested interest there.
Realize you signed that form.
Hmm?
a few minutes
I was just
back.
asking a very legitimate question.
Well, so, we're gonna,
So,
this says replace, so,
Yes.
but you're not trading it in, are you?
no.
So-
So,
Is it the truck that's in the spare equipment or whatever? I saw a vehicle.
so this was budgeted in capital. We will buy the truck, and then we will go have the utility bed put on it. But it's all budgeted.
It'll come back for salvage after the new
Yeah,
one's
it'll come
received,
back
so
for
it'll probably
salvage.
be
Once
like
I
February.
want the board to approve this. Once I order it, it takes at least 3 months to even get the vehicle in.
Okay,
So we just want to start the process.
okay. So then you're gonna take the
And then
box off.
Then we'll bring the other truck back for you guys to declare salvage.
And then we'll go to auction.
Are you moving,
We are
Well,
not
first-
moving the box. The box is a long bed box, and
yes, that's where I was going to.
it does not.
So the one you're getting have a box on it, or is it just standard?
We will purchase a box for it.
So we're gonna need to purchase a box in addition.
Yes,
Okay,
and that was budgeted also
okay,
in the total price of the vehicle and capital.
okay.
For clarification, that's a separate purchase to happen in the future.
Yes. So usually what we'll do, we'll purchase a box, and then actually when we go purchase a box, they actually give us a credit for the standard box when we purchase the new box.
What was the total amount budgeted?
41, I believe. I can double check it here.
I think about 41, so the box is somewhere around $8,000 or $9,000, and then we always put lights on the vehicles too.
41 is correct.
How much?
41.
41? So the vehicle doesn't come with lights? Is that accessory you didn't get?
So just for safety reasons, we always we do those integrated lights where they can just hit a button and their
Yeah.
lights, their headlights and tail lights will flash.
There are no other questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the acquisition of a 2020 Dodge Ram 2500 regular cab truck for the Water Department to be purchased through the buy board contract at Grapevine Dodge Chrysler Jeep for an amount not to exceed $30,114, and authorize the general manager to execute the necessary documents to complete the vehicle purchase.
We have a motion by Director Chapman to approve the acquisition of the 2020 Dodge Ram 2500 regular cab truck to be purchased through the buy board at Grapevine Dodge Chrysler Jeep for amount not to exceed $30,114, and authorize the general manager to execute the necessary documents to complete the vehicle purchase. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Seconded by Director Castanway. Any other discussion? Hear none? All in favor indicate by raising your hand. We have 4 and a reluctant yes by Secretary Treasurer Flynn. Okay, item number 5. Consider and take appropriate action regarding the September 2019 Combined Financial and Variance Report. A, combined financials. B, combined variance.
So I direct your attention to slide 211, the variance report. Number of different items here as we get toward the end of the year. Nothing really substantial. Stephen, we talked about under the revenue column, the miscellaneous income. And explain to me again why the negative 23,135.
So the negative amount is what was discussed in the last meeting. That is the reimbursement from Aetna or insurance for a couple of years ago.
How would they give us money back?
It was originally just put into miscellaneous income until I had a position to put it in. So this month is why there's a negative amount. I took it out of miscellaneous income and used it against our expenses. And then the other percentage went back to the employees.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Unless there's any other questions on the variance report? It's pretty straightforward. If not, then I will make a motion here as soon as I get back up there. I think I will. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Oh, perfect, there we go. So I move to approve September 2019 combined financials and variance report. A, combined financials, B, combined variance.
I will have a motion by Secretary Treasurer Flynn to approve the September 2019 combined financials and variance report. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Chapman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We will now go back to item number 2. Okay, item number 2, consider and take appropriate action regarding annexation matters. A, consider petition for annexation of approximately 1.0055 acres of land situated in the J. Michael Survey, abstract number 821 of the town of Trophy Club, Denton County, Texas, and submitted by McJunklin Signature Homes, LLC, a Texas limited liability corporation. And B, consider and take appropriate action to adopt order number 2019-1021 Alpha approving annexation of approximate 1.0055 acres of land situated in the J. Michael Survey, abstract number 821 to the town of Trophy Club, Denton County, Texas, and submitted by McJunkton Signature Homes, LLC, a Texas limited liability corporation. I'm assuming this, then we have a C here. Consider and take appropriate action to approve amendment of district information form, including updated district boundaries and description and map that incorporates the annexed property.
My understanding of the background of this item is that the petitioner desires fire protection services from the district in the town. In order to do so, staff has explained that the property would need to be annexed into the boundaries of the district. This town council has approved its consent for annexation of the property by the district. Under the water code, when a landowner petitions for annexation, the district has the authority to annex the property. So that's the purpose of this item. In the event that the board does approve the petition and request for annexation, then the district's corporate boundaries and property description needs to be updated to reflect the additional property. Lori's been working with your surveyor and engineer and putting that together. We have a preliminary updated description in your packet today, which will be attached to the district information form. That's item C. And then the engineers are working on a more comprehensive one, which we'll bring back to you when that's available. But the purpose of this item is to consider the annexation of this tract of land so that it may receive fire protection services.
This, if I can add, this is the Venable property, and they currently do not, they're outside of the district limits, and they're not receiving water or sewer service either. And they're redeveloping that property. Jack McJunkin bought that property and is ready to upgrade the water line, correct, Mike? And they need to put a new sewer line in to receive sewer service. So they're not receiving technically any district services at this time.
That's what we were looking at here. We're looking at 2 added meters and 2 added sewer taps.
Vice President Rose.
I move to adopt order number 2019-1021 1021A, approving annexation of approximately 1.0055 acres of land situated in the J. Michael Survey, abstract number 821 of the town of Trophy Club, Denton County, Texas. And also to approve amendment of the district information form, including updated district boundary description map that incorporates the annexed property.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Rose to approve the annexation of of 1.0055 acres of the J. Michael Survey, abstract number 821 to the town of Trophy Club, Denton County, and to approve the amendment of the district information form to update the district boundaries to incorporate this annexed property. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I do have some question.
So, second by Secretary Treasurer Flynn. Discussions?
All the properties that surround it, are we supplying them with services, or are they blanks?
We are. This is right in the middle of town, and we are supplying everything around it. We have water and sewer lines readily available in this
Okay.
area.
I wondered, because it's right in the middle of Hogan's Glen and that stuff. I'm going, how did that one get skipped?
Well, it's not really in Hogan's Glen, so it was at the end of Meadowbrook where it used to dead end before Hogan's Glen actually come up there and developed.
Okay.
But I think these people own the property for several years when Trophy Club started and never wanted to be incorporated into the mud.
There are 2 other properties, I think, remaining.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been county all this time and not a,
Yes.
okay. It just looked weird to me.
They are donut hole.
Okay. So I'm not, well, I was gonna say I'm not crazy, but that's another matter.
Yeah, that's
That's a discussion on that.
Just one quick follow-up note. So we are proceeding, we're very close to build-out at this point. And when you look at that original document that defined the boundaries, it has a bunch of the use of the word fence. And many pages of that. Fence here, fence there, goes on and on. And over time, from what we can ascertain, it's been modified sometimes by district secretary, sometimes perhaps not at all when it should have been modified. So we're going to have one of our engineering firms do a proper boundary description of where we are today and see if we can't get that down to a manageable set of, maybe 5 pages instead of 20.
right. Any other discussion? Secretary Treasurer Flynn, you appear to be in deep thought.
Most of the time, yes.
Oh, we're at it today.
Okay. Hearing no other discussions, all in favor indicate by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're on item number 6. Discussion regarding availability of property tax ceiling or exemption for district residents over 65 or disabled. Tony, would you like to add some
Sure.
clarity to this matter?
I think at a prior meeting of the board, a interested resident asked the board of directors to consider adopting a property sometimes referred to as a freeze, in other cases as a ceiling, for residents who are age 65 or over. The board heard that request. It wasn't on the agenda. I took a quick look at it and wanted to provide a report back to the board of directors regarding its authority. With respect to the freeze or the ceiling, that would cap the district's, the amount of the taxation paid by the taxpayer who reaches 65. Unlike a school district where that ceiling is mandatory, or a county or a municipality where there's authority to do it, although it's discretionary with the governing body. In the case of a water district, there is no statutory authority, so you couldn't do it even if you wanted to. That authority doesn't exist. The district does have the authority to grant an exemption for residents who are age 65 or over, or are disabled. The minimum exemption is $3,000. You can go up from there. That can be done either on the initiative of the board of directors or by petition of the the taxpayers. But bottom line, a water district doesn't have the authority to grant impose a tax ceiling or a property freeze like a school district does. The district in the future, the board, if it so chooses, can impose a property tax exemption for residents age 65 and over or who are disabled.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So currently, there is a exemption for those over 65.
Yes, currently right now is 25,000.
So just want to make sure that's on the record, so everyone understands that there currently is an exemption for people 65 and over. As soon as you file your exemption with Denton County for your over 65, you automatically also get it for the MUD district as well. So there's not a separate form or attestation or action you need to take advantage of that.
And as Tony said, the minimum is 3,000 on there. School districts have 25,000 is what there's on there. So it's not like we're outside of what everything around us would be. Just to kind of let everybody know, the higher the exemption, the less taxes we're able to bring in on that. So just keep that in mind. We have roughly 780 over 65 right now that has been approved and filed with Denton County. We have about another 50 with Tarrant County. So just a ballpark right now is roughly about 20.5 million would be exemption.
That's the exempted property tax value.
Correct. Exempted property
Do
tax
we
value.
know what a revenue number is relative to that?
I have to do the math on
That's
where
basically-
they all fall and yeah.
12 cent on that, $20 million or whatever it is.
So while he's looking at that, what does the city do, the Town of Trophy Club? There's a,
They actually freeze it at
Right.
65. So once you hit 65, whatever the amount you pay, if it's
right,
$2,600, it will remain $2,600
right.
in perpetuity.
And we're saying legally statute, we can't do that in the MUD.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So, but we can entertain one-off requests, if that's kind of a bad way to say it, but somebody could petition the MUD, is that what I hear you saying?
For, not to do the freeze. You don't have.
No,
the
no, I know
authority.
that. No, I'm talking about the freeze is off. That's not possible,
They
right?
could petition you, Stephen just indicate you have a $25,000 exemption today for residents over 65. On your own initiative or by petition of a property owner, you could reconsider that exemption amount each year.
Yeah, so we could increase that amount, so we could go to 50 or 100,
Okay.
or we could change that amount, but we can't do a one-off to a resident to say, oh, we're gonna waive yours.
No, okay, I'm clear.
Is that exemption every year, or?
Yes, it's once you, as soon as you hit over, as long as you have that over 65 with Denton County, you automatically get it. So as long as you maintain it with Denton County, you get it for us.
And
At
the district's exemption will remain in effect until it's changed.
Right.
I'm just wondering who uses $25,000 worth of water every year.
It's exemption off your value.
It's just
This
off
is
your
off-
value.
off
So
your
let's say if your
value.
house is valued.
Off the value, okay,
at
off the value of the house.
600,000, it reduces it to 575,000.
Okay, I was going, okay.
Oh,
All right, I
oh.
misunderstood.
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water.
Where were you vacationing at?
I don't know, but I think I should have
In
stayed
the
there.
ocean.
Yeah.
Evidently left my
mentally, it's
brain
still
there.
I was wondering where you going. It's like, who uses 25,000?
Okay, so 25,000 off the, okay.
The value of their home. So it's on the tax side.
Yeah. Property value.
All right. Any other,
So do we have any obligation to circle back with our homeowner regarding the discussion? I mean, it's on tape, obviously.
No obligation to do so. If you'd like staff to do so, we certainly could. It may be something you want to, I don't know if we have an FAQ or something on our website where we have something about a tax information and post it there, but that's entirely up to you guys.
Or maybe put it in the next MUD newsletter or something.
Sure.
Just a
We
reminder.
refer to it generally as the Dorian Gray exception.
Okay.
It's like you get Dorian Gray going on with that head going over there. Look at that.
That's Boris Johnson, baby.
I just think, I mean, somebody came here, they made a petition, a
Give
phone
it-
call would probably be the
Give
right
him a
thing.
call.
I have
Yeah.
no problem doing that.
Give him a call.
We should note that we have a $25,000 exemption already, which sounds like it's pretty high relative to other government entities. We're solidly there.
For water districts.
Well,
it's
and to be
definitely
honest
high.
with you, many people are not aware of that. I've
That's
seen
my point.
their conversations on Facebook where it has been mentioned what the mud does not do, and I've informed people, and most of them are surprised. Coincidentally, most of them are over 65 either, which is why they never notice it. But that's another conversation.
Maybe not online to, yeah,
Yeah.
Easy, big boy.
So.
maybe a little
Was that an
information
ageist
given out
comment?
would be
No,
what's
what I'm
needed.
saying
I
is
did-
that the
I-
people who
I got
who
that.
question,
Yeah, you said
weren't
over
of age.
65, over 65 probably wouldn't notice it.
I said they didn't notice it because they were not over 65.
I got you.
Not
I got- okay.
because they were over 65.
I'm
they
gonna
didn't
let you off
notice
the
it.
hook.
No, he
but-
said he'd notice it, they wouldn't remember it. That's different.
Okay.
Please make note that that's Commons Secretary Treasurer's land. You can get us.
I will reach out and call this individual
Chunks
tomorrow.
again.
We have a point of order.
Yeah, we have 2 or 3
Point
points of order.
parliamentary procedure.
All right. Any other snide comments? Commentary on item number 6 here?
No?
All right, we'll proceed to item number 7. Consider and take appropriate action necessary to authorize the acquisition by purchase or condemnation of easements required for the construction and operation of the water transmission line improvements from district pump station elevated water tank located on T.W. King Road. A, approve engagement of Jackson Walker LLP as special condemnation counsel. And B, authorize such actions as may be necessary to proceed with purchase or condemnation of easements. Tony?
This is in your packet at Tony's recommendation, so I defer to him for a description of the item. We believe this gentleman can do a great job for us at the staff level.
So my understanding is the district, by agreement and purchase, has secured most but not all of the easements required for the water line project. I think in at least one case, we cannot obtain an answer from the property owner. In another case, the underlying land was acquired by a bank, which has now failed. And so there's a couple of complexities with respect to securing the property. In many cases, the condemnation process will cause a property owner who doesn't otherwise respond, or otherwise the process will be completed and the commissioners will make a determination of the value, and then the district will have the rights to enter the property and proceed with its project. I believe your engineering consultants have gotten to the point where they've kind of reached the end of the process in terms of voluntary negotiations, and so we're bringing this to you. Particularly in the last few years, the condemnation laws have changed, and there's a number of detailed requirements, and if you fail to exercise the power properly and the condemnation is overturned on any type of appeal, then it's invalidated and the governmental body would be trespassing. And so it's important that you do it properly. It's a pretty routine process, although in this case, again, there's a couple of complexities which we'll deal with. This is a firm that in the Central Texas area, and a lawyer in particular I've worked with in many cases, and he's very, very good. They have a Dallas office and do a lot of work in this part of the state too. And so when we talked about this with staff, I gave them a call and confirmed that they do a lot of work in this area, and in fact they do, and they're up in this office a couple times a week, so I think they'll be readily available.
Would you care to opine on their rate structure?
And what?
On their rate structure?
Yes.
I'm obviously in too small of a firm. No. So, it's
may
big
be-
firm prices, without question. They will use legal assistance to the extent possible and associates to minimize cost. Again, a lot of it is fairly routine in nature to the extent that we end up having to go through the condemnation and actually have the hearing itself. or a couple of the more nuanced issues, I think you'll be paying the full rates of the senior partner. But the rates speak for themselves. They are high pricey.
Was this how you acquired the initial helicopter? When you was doing this type of work?
He's still driving up here, which has its own challenges. He does need to have higher rates.
You'll notice it's not my letterhead.
I would just make a note that these rates are not dissimilar from what we see from Whitaker Chalk, one of our other outside counsel.
And that makes me feel so much better.
Apples and apples.
I'll entertain a motion. You can tell this price, even Rose won't touch it.
Go ahead, big boy.
Oh, thanks, Sam. Push me over the edge.
I'll
make
go ahead. Go ahead.
I make a motion to authorize acquisition by purchase or condemnation of easements required for the construction and operation of water transmission line improvements from the district pump station to the elevated water tank located on T.W. King Road. Item A, approve the engagement of the Jackson Walker LLP as a special condemnation counsel as outlined in the letter provided, and authorize such other actions as that must be necessary to proceed with the purchase or condemnation of the easements.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Chapman to approve engagement of Jackson Walker LLP as special condemnation counsel and authorize other such actions that may be necessary to proceed with the purchase or condemnation of easements that are required for the construction operation of water transmission line improvements from the district pump station to the elevated water tank on T.W. King Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Secretary Treasurer Flynn. Discussion?
Okay.
Vice President Rose?
I regret that we find ourselves in a situation where we're going to have to go down this particular path, because having been down it once before when I was on the town council, I can only tell you that it can get expensive. But here again, that's the only way I know to get a result.
Yeah, and through the condemnation process, it's not cheap, but that's not where the real dollars are incurred. Every landowner has the right to appeal
Yes.
the condemnation award. Many sophisticated landowners won't even show up to the condemnation hearing, so they don't accept jurisdiction at that level. Then they file a brand new lawsuit, and it's considered de novo. And so you go through the whole process in a true judicial trial, and that can be very, very expensive. In this case, with these properties, I don't think there's opposition to it. Instead, I think there's non-responsiveness, could end up being, and then there's this issue with the bank property. And but as of now, we don't anticipate that. We and hope that's not the case. It's not landowners saying no. My understanding, it's landowners who won't respond or can't be found.
I have one just small item. I've had a lot of experience with these types of things in Utah, not in Texas. And it's a decade old or so, but I asked the gentleman on the phone when I was interviewing him and asking him about his experience in this area and their work here, whether or not, and this was the case back in the early 2000s in Utah, if you go to a private property owner with a condemnation, there's a tax benefit to them. It was basically they're getting revenue for a piece of their real property, and if you don't have that threat of condemnation, that may be a taxable event. So there's a step in this process that has a benefit for the homeowner that it's something to keep in mind. He says that's true in Texas too. I've just not done many condemnations in Texas.
So out of the total number of easements that we had to acquire in order to complete this project, this represents how many of the total?
Okay, so there's 8 that we're acquiring, and that's exclusive of TxDOT right-of-way type easements. We've got a lot of work out there. 2 of the 8 are associated with the town. They've approved them. They're in administrative process, so that's 6 out of the 8. So to get up to 5, there's 3 other property owners who have agreed in principle, and we're underway. One of them is the Lake City's church. Then the other 2 easements, one of them is the hotel that's next to the medical center. The other one is the medical center. So we've worked with the town on the tree buffer that's between the commercial land use and the residential land use. Lisa Payne in particular, to say, well, we can move the pipe back and forth in this easement. We can avoid killing this tree. That one probably has to go, sort of stuff. So they seem okay and willing, but they're not motivated. So how do you drive them to this point?
So there are 2?
So there's those 2, and then there's this little sliver of land that's in receivership by Denton County. I think Stephen looked it up and told me that the back property taxes are in the vicinity of $55,000 on this little sliver of land next to the church. It's been taken by Denton County after the bankruptcy of the bank, and one of the gentlemen who's on the board of the church came and talked to me about that. They're interested in that surface land as parking lot space, but they don't want to pay $55,000 in back taxes for something that's going to cost them even more than that to put a parking lot on. Of that $55,000, about $1,100 of it was mud taxes owed to us. It's not clear that there's a mechanism other than just outright condemning it, but this is a government entity condemning another government entity in a sense, and it gets a little squirrely there. I wouldn't pretend to have any expertise in that area. Hopefully I covered that.
And if I remember the mapping, and we're not going through anybody's house or anything else, it's just back part of their properties on all cases
There are no residential properties in this mix.
in this mess, so it's all commercial.
So there's 2 of the 8 that this condemnation process.
No,
would-
I think 3.
3 of the 8. Okay, so just want to be clear.
Right.
There's 3 of the 8.
But it may be that we write a similar letter for the other property owners just for their tax benefit. So maybe us, even though they voluntarily agreed, they're interested in things like the tree buffers. They've agreed to it, but they haven't signed the documents yet. And for those who are commercial businesses, there could be a tax benefit. The one that's the town and the Economic Development Corporation, those 2, those property owners are not going to gain any tax benefit, or they wouldn't pay any extra taxes as a result of the sale of the subsurface rights of this property to the mud, if that makes sense.
It's very common in Texas for the property to be conveyed under threat of condemnation for the reasons Carmen's mentioning. With respect to another governmental entity that has an ownership interest, both entities have the power of condemnation. If there's a dispute, the court would look at what is the paramount public interest. In this case, it's the water versus the county has no use of the property, is trying to dispose of it. So I don't anticipate any opposition by the county, and if we had to go through the entire process, we could, but this process will kind of go forward and if we can't figure out an alternative one, but I don't think the county would oppose it.
Vice President Rose, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay, we have a motion that has been put forth and seconded. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, indicate by raising your hand. And 4. All opposed? I'm opposed, not because I have a problem with the motion. This is still tied back to a project that I question whether or not we need to do. So just to make sure everyone recognizes why my position has nothing to do with
So you
this
support
action
those
itself.
dollars?
I support them. Okay,
Oh.
item number 8, receive report from General Manager's Hiring Committee. Director Castanway, Secretary Treasurer Flynn, please enlighten us.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. So I got an update from Jerry on Friday, so this is very real time. To date, he has interviewed 292 candidates, which is a lot. Of the 292, he's scheduled 11 interviews. 5 of those interviews were done last week, 4 scheduled for this week. Of the 5, 3 are good candidates. 1 is outstanding, he says, the only limitation being this individual does not have a degree. But in every other way, he's excellent, so he's moving him forward in the process. 1 is an ex-city manager who's overseen water, wastewater. The notation is he does have a recent disagreement with the employer, but there is a mutual separation. Good references. 1 is a PE with excellent water experience. So it looks like we have 3 moving forward in the process.
What does PE stand for?
Professional engineer.
Engineer, okay, thank you.
So as of this, it
Or
looks like
physical
we have
education.
3 that are moving forward in the,
Engineer.
process. 4 more being interviewed this week.
So does he still have the large capture net out there? I mean,
I didn't specifically ask that. I would assume so. I mean, he's got this net that's going out there.
Okay.
And, I mean, obviously, he's cast it pretty far if he's
Yeah.
gotten 300 people, at least contacts. And I don't know, half of those may be, they look at him and it's an immediate write-off and not qualified, whatever it is.
But he had, what did he say? Did you say 11 or 8?
He has 11 total.
11 total.
I should say, 2 of them were dismissed. 1 kind of eliminated himself.
Okay.
So, of the
Down to
5
9.
that he interviewed, 3 are moving forward in the process. 2, 1 didn't make it, and 1
He still
self-eliminated.
has 4 more to go.
4 more to go
4
this week.
more. This is, okay.
Now, I don't know if there's still work to be done where, he gets another 10, 12. Kelly and I will probably call him later this week and get an update specifically on the 4. I would imagine here in the next, certainly 30 days, if not sooner, we should be getting, a pool of candidates to bring forth to the board and, for the next step.
Has he indicated their locale at all?
Not on this one. 1 was in Norman, but I don't think that's this one. Well, I'll get further details this week.
Okay.
It was minor, we already
Okay.
talked about.
Appreciate it.
Okay. General Manager Motley reports an update, A through F.
Mr. President, thank you. You have a report in your packet, and I won't belabor the information there. That includes both things that I put in and the normal monthly reporting that comes from Stephen and Mike. I would just make note of one item that was under 9A, the regulatory update. We did have the inspector from the FMT program come out and spend 2 days at the plant. He wrote a 1-page report and sent it to us. We believe that is our best shot at claiming that we fulfilled our end of the agreement on the settlement agreement. I acknowledge, and I've heard from at least one of our board members, lack of satisfaction about the nature of that report, but it is in fact the one that was offered. So I'm pushing that up. I'll bring that to your attention. Our plan is running well, and it's run professionally by capable people. I think that's what he found when he came here, and I would honestly tell you he struggled to find things to say. It's running well. That's our challenge. So I called him up after his visit, and he was he thought we did really well. So
There's a page that was created as a result of that issue where we track all of the, that they specifically requested of all of the items. I would say post this on that one site. I don't know if it gets a lot of traction, but I think that would be an appropriate place to post this report.
well, I think we agreed to do it, so that's in the settlement agreement. The one challenge, and Lori pointed this out for me, is that it says right in the settlement agreement that we're gonna post it on a page where it doesn't really fit.
Then post it there. I mean,
But I'm thinking that we just post it in the right place and make sure there's a link off of our main page to it, and go with that.
yeah, I don't know if there's a governmental body that critiques locations of documents on pages, so
Yeah.
if let's put it out there and
Right. If they want to
Just-
claim that it was in the wrong place, then we can think about changing it. But I feel like we've met our obligation under the settlement agreement, and I just want to bring that to your attention. I did put this off for a long time because of our struggles to close out the construction project at the plant. But we finally got it scheduled. This is a different inspector than the original one that we talked to because of the delays associated with the contractor. And staff is here and happy to answer any other questions you might have about this report.
Vice President Rose?
It may not surprise anyone, but I am the director that took exception to this report. I found it, yeah.
That's shocking.
Quite frankly, first of all, it's not even dated. It's not on letterhead, to begin with. I thought it had been partially excerpted out of something when I first read it. To say that I'm not sure TCEQ's getting their money's worth when they hire somebody would be,
An
I think,
understatement?
I won't say an understatement, but might be a fair concern. When somebody writes me a report that says they came out for 2 days and reviewed financial, managerial, technical assistance assignments, and then doesn't rate those assignments or make any positive or negative comments about those assignments or what they found, I find that to be profoundly lacking. He did say that the wastewater treatment plant's to be operating at exemplary level with no recent permit violations. That's a plus, for sure. Talks about adequate staffing and size, and credits the staff for vast skills and knowledge required through decades of experience. Those are good words. But here again, I find the general substance of the critique to be lacking. And my comment to general manager is, I suggested that when he posts this, that he put a cover letter on it, explain what we went through to get to this point, and say, this is what we received, and take one step back from it, would be my comment. Because it doesn't do for me what I expected it to do.
One comment.
Yeah.
So, in our defense, when this guy come out, we asked him for a report. His response was, "I don't ever give reports." We actually had to ask him to write us up something. So,
Yeah.
and this is what we received.
Yeah, and I appreciate you making that point, because our background, this doesn't hack it.
Yeah, that's a bit atypical from what we're accustomed to seeing.
Yeah. And that would be my only comment. Thank you.
Certainly a significant difference in the level of detail between that and the WJE report, which we might have a chance to talk about in a short executive session,
Okay?
which I think we're getting close to, if there's no other questions about the GM report.
No.
I don't have any down on the,
Well, I have some, but should we go to closed session for the questions and that stuff, since it's on a,
If it's in
is
closed,
it
yeah.
related to the general manager monthly report, or is it related to something that's executive session?
it's, well, it's in here both. I mean, it's it's executive session 10A as well as part of the manager's report,
Okay.
because it's in there. I mean, this is the report that we've been waiting on
Yeah.
Okay.
for the special inspection.
Before we go there, can I talk about,
relate to the Weber Cadagua project?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm-
10A will come.
Unless I misread that, that's the WJE
Yeah.
special inspection report.
That is related to that contract.
Yeah.
so if you will, the board, just real quick on the finance side, a couple things. One, our auditors will be here on November 11th in-house. So we're rolling away right now and closing out the fiscal year and getting the audit ready. You can ask Steve, there's tons of boxes and paperwork all over my office, and we're trying to hammer it all out and get it ready for them to show up. They're gonna be here a little bit earlier than they normally are, given the way Thanksgiving kind of falls this next month and everything. So we're trying to get them in, get them out, and get another clean audit this year like we did last year. One more thing here, if everybody would go to page 19. This was in the consent, so this is, we've already passed it through for this one, but going forward, these are the quarterly tax reports for the delinquent reports. There is a new format here, and it's been my understanding from prior boards who wanted to see full detail on the delinquent tax. So we used to give out anywhere from 10 to 30 pages worth of customers' information, the amount that they owed, their address, and everything to kind of go over what was still due to the MUD and delinquent tax over different tax years. And if you look at the first few slides here, all this is kind of broke down a little bit easier to read and understand, I believe. And so the staff recommendation, if the board would like, is to go ahead and get rid of the full detail and do more of the summary graphs that we have here. Or we can do both, do the summary graphs and the full detail. Just trying to help shorten the packet down just a little bit. Guess can't take action. So I'll just give you the option that we can sometime. Two different
We need
options.
to take action on
Next
that?
time the report is
Or we can
out.
keep going.
So how often are we putting this report in the packet?
Quarterly.
It's quarterly?
Yeah, so I think the conversation you guys are contemplating is whether or not we want to continue to show the detail, or if we want to just go with the summary. Personally, I don't have a problem with just going with the summary. However, there was recently a issue that happened south of here where there were a number of elected officials who were delinquent in some of their bills, and it was not reported. And so the only thing that I could think of that would justify continue showcasing or showing this is so there's never any thought or so no one ever thinks that we're hiding information. For example, if maybe a MUD director was included on the report, that we intentionally said don't show it because we didn't want to embarrass ourselves. That's the only reason why I could think of continuing to show it. It's a once-a-year report. I don't think it's necessary, but just out of complete transparency, I don't have any problem with it being shown. That's my thought.
And if, I have a question, if somebody come in under open records request and the information wasn't in this form, they'd still be able to get it, wouldn't they? If it wasn't
We
presented?
wouldn't have the information. It would, well,
No, I'm saying if we didn't present it here, and somebody come in and say, I would like to have a list of those persons or entities who have delinquent taxes,
yes.
can, would that be open?
If we're not the person that provides that information and we don't, how would we?
Yeah, I get it from the attorney.
We receive it every quarter. We receive it. It's a big stack of
And
papers.
it's out there. If you go to Denton County and everything, you can
Right,
see delinquent
so
taxes that are out there.
We don't maintain the information. We don't create a report for open records. We
Yeah.
would refer them then to somebody else. You don't create information.
Okay. Smarter. Okay.
It is available if someone wants to do the research on their own.
To the extent you have the information, it would be subject to disclosure. If you
Right.
don't have the information, then you'd probably advise them to contact
Yeah.
the tax
I mean,
collector.
I would, even if it didn't go in the packet though, I would, because I do have to do reports at the end of the year with everything, so.
It's available in our system because you receive the reports, correct?
Correct, or I can relate them to who would get the
So if a
information either way.
decision- Can they make a decision if they, so the board we found made a motion on this, a few years ago to quarterly put this information into the packet. If a decision needs to be made, and this is not on the current agenda because I didn't put it on, do we need to schedule this for next month?
I think
Valid point.
financial reports is on it. The board just wants to provide direction on that. If you want to memorialize it through a motion so that it's kind of clear for record-keeping purposes, we can certainly add it next one.
Do you want just direction?
I guess the question is, does the board have a desire to change it, to not include this once a year as part of the package?
It's once a quarter.
It's once a quarter.
I got no objections to it.
I
What,
think
continuing
providing,
it?
what they're providing here once a quarter is fine.
Yeah,
I guess I'm with
you.
Tony, that if somebody were to come on an open records request and the data's available somewhere, then we need to provide it, my opinion.
Well,
If it's a specific record that they're looking for.
well, I think the point he was making is, and Lori kind of pointed this out, if we don't request it, then we're not going to have it. So if someone asks for it, we're not gonna go to Denton County and get it just to give it to them. It would have to be in our possession.
Right,
And so,
but I thought I heard you saying we're getting it all the time
It
anyway.
would be in my possession anyways.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I
Whether I
heard.
put it in the packet or not, I
Yeah.
would
That's
still
my
follow
point.
the full
Yeah.
detail.
Okay.
yeah,
This discussion is just what information is presented to the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
The staff has the information.
Correct, that is correct.
I'm good with summary then.
It really comes down to, I know as we talked about it over the basically the last 12 months, is, trying to maybe narrow some of this down and stop getting so many papers in here, that isn't looked at, or, it doesn't need to go in full detail. So that's kind of where I'm at. It was make something a little bit easier to understand. If you look at the full detail, you still don't know the total without doing some math, and you still gotta do some other stuff. This kind of gives you what the total is summary-wise, kind of, some nice graphs in there to display, but I can put them all in there. I mean, as we did this quarter, so it really doesn't make a difference. I'll have it anyways. It's just adding a few more PDFs to it.
Well, I don't see a reason for anything greater than what you've presented personally. If that, I don't need it. I can remember some of the other packets where it was listed 3 different ways, and you go through and say, yeah, there it is. It's alphabetical, and then it's by block, and then it's by amount, and it was like, I don't need,
And at one period of time, we did without any at all and didn't have any reports to go out with it, which is,
Yeah, so-
what was brought up before, wanting to put them in there.
no,
All 3 are in there today.
I don't need more.
You need to explain that all 3 of the reports are.
Yeah, right now, all 3 are in here, though. So
Yeah, we're
what you're
seeing
seeing
the
is.
we're seeing the detail
Yeah,
here,
the details in the
after
back, well,
detail.
because I wanted to make sure that it was all in there for today's packet. The detail right now, is only 8, so obviously they're gonna have a new list coming, because we just closed the tax year, they're gonna have a new list of delinquents coming forward here. So as they collect, the list gets smaller and smaller throughout the tax year.
yeah.
So right now, the detail is only 8 pages.
Any other discussion around this? Let's have a separate question related to financials. Do you have an update on where, I know it's still preliminary, but best guess that we're gonna close out for this year financially?
All right, so currently, as we look at the GL detail that we have, we're looking at 396 in surplus, but in the month of September, we're constantly putting invoices back into September, basically up until the day that the auditor walks in the door. We do have one more Fort Worth bill, which is September, and we sold quite a bit of water, or bought quite a bit of water in September. We also have some additional revenue that will get accrued back into September once we get the numbers for October as they close down, because we had 5 days in September after we read in the UV side. So going back and forth, I've talked to Secretary Flynn about
At
it.
length, yeah.
In length, best guess, we're gonna look about 100,000 in the positive.
Okay.
And that really does come back to the true up on Fort Worth. And that's where the variable that comes across. And I just talked to Fort Worth today. It'll be a couple days that we mailing that out. We should know from there. So we're getting pretty close. I'll have it definitely by the next board meeting, because the auditors already be in the door and doing their stuff before the board meeting. So I'll have a lot better idea where we're sitting at from there.
Okay.
And one other thing, I would add that after a bunch of back and forth, our friends in Fort Worth have agreed to pay for the staining on the fenced enclosure around the meter facility. Took 6 months, but they're gonna do it.
So they're gonna reimburse us?
They're gonna just
Take it off
net
this
it
bill.
out on a water bill, but at the end of the day, they haven't done it yet, but they've committed to do it.
So is it gonna be equal to the several $100,000?
No. But certainly, it'll cover the cost of staying in that fence.
Yeah. All right, anything else?
That fence will gold leaf.
Okay, we'll go to item number 10. It is now 7:30. We'll enter into executive session pursuant to section 551-071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act. The board may consult with this attorney in executive session on a matter of which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the disciplinary rules of professional conduct to the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Open Meetings Act, or to seek advice of counsel on legal matters involving pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers. A, Contractor breach, performance, and payment issues related to district's contract with Weber Cadagua Partners for construction of wastewater treatment plant improvements, and B, Trophy Club Municipal District Number 1 versus Arcadia Service LLC in the District Court of Tarrant County, 141st Judicial District, cause number 141-299-351-18. C, potential condemnation of easements required for construction operation of water transmission lines improvements for a district pump station to elevated water tank located on T.W. King Road. Item number 11, pursuant to Section 551-072 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, the board may deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of governmental body in negotiations with a third party. A, sale or exchange of district real property located 100 Municipal Drive and 1500 Junction Way. B, purchase of easements required for construction of operation of water transmission line improvements from district pump station to elevated water tank located on T.W. King Road. Item number 12, pursuant to Section 551-074 of the Texas Governmental Code, Texas Open Meeting Act, the Board of Directors may deliberate the employment of a new general manager. It is now 7:32. We will enter into executive session. It is now 8:12. We're returning to regular session. Consider and take appropriate action on matters deliberated in executive session. There was no action to be taken from executive session. No decisions were made. Item number 14, future agendas. Item 15, next board meeting scheduled for November 18th at 6:30. Any issues or concerns with that date?
Looks good to me.
Thank you for confirming that for us.
Just making sure I'm in town and not.
You could be back in Hawaii again.
I wish, but anyway.
Okay. Seven-letter word starts with A, end with the N. Sounds rather French.
Move to adjourn?
We have a move to adjourn,
A second.
second by Director Castaway. We will adjourn. It is 8:13. Meeting is closed.